Hey, this is C&D channel. I'm Chris. This is also Chris, and this is MMA for you. We're going to be doing our UFC 152 post-fight analysis. As far as picks go, I got 6 out of 12, so, not my best night. Not my worst night, but not my best night. Certain picks that I was actually very confident in didn't happen. The guys ended up losing, like Hetis, Charles Oliveira, it is pretty surprising, actually. It's a pretty surprising night. Bad night for prospects, as those are the two prospects that were definitely coming up, and now they didn't look good. Let's get right to it. Jon Jones defeated Vitor Belfort by Americana in the 4th round. What do you think about both Jones's performance and Belfort's performance?
First of all, I thought Vitor, did a lot better than I had anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
He held his own pretty well, relatively. For the first 3 rounds, and I thought Jon Jones was just gonna knock him out, pretty early. So, from that perspective, Jones or Vitor performed, better than I had expected.
I gotta say, he did better, in my opinion, than say a Shogun or Rampage did, and that alone, it's like a moral victory in a sense. The first round armbar, it's like, where did this come from? At the end of the 2nd or 3rd, he did manage to attempt a triangle choke. I kind of felt that he was mentally deteriorating as the fight went on. But he did a lot better than I thought he would. Pulling guard wasn't exactly the best idea. Especially against a guy like Jones, whose top control is really good. I gotta say though, I wonder if as Jones is fighting more, do you think he's getting more exposed? Like, did Vitor expose maybe a lack of good submission defense or something like that? What do you think?
My thoughts are that, Jones still hasn't taken a hard punch to the face.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that's, rocked him or, even dropped him. So, I don't think he's been tested yet. But, that might just be because he's such a good, he's just a good defender. So, I don't know. There's such high expectations for Jon Jones in this fight. So, Vitor did well. He did well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and I think that's kind of the sort of the fight. Like, in my opinion, I think he acquitted himself well. It's not to say he did anything great. I think what's kind of cool is a lot of his strikes actually did connect. He was kicking, which is a good strategy against Jones, especially like kicks. He'd get in there and get some punches, but his output was really low. His cardio looked bad. He'd pull guard, and he looked like mentally breaking as the fight wore on. The finish was cool, where he got him down, crucifixed. He really had nowhere to go, so he just when he locked into Americana, he did it. Americana is like one of the first things you learn in jiu-jitsu, and it's actually it's generally easy to get out of. You just have to pull your arm up. You're like here. A lot of people don't bring it down. They'll bring it, like, I learned to bring it down too, and then go. So, they'll do it here, and they'll try and, like, Americana you, and then all you gotta do is like that, or, like, even just give it back. I've gotten out of Americana attempts before in training.
It's a pretty fundamental, basic...
yeah, but, the thing is, in MMA, Vitor was definitely tired. He was trapped, and Jon Jones immediately pushed his arm down first before, really cranking it, which is the right technique. A lot of people won't do that. So I think this is the first Americana win in a championship bout in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to check the stat there. I want to say it is. I don't think I've seen an Americana. You don't see Americanas win fights in the UFC very much, period. No less in a championship bout. Good one for Jones. He's probably going to get the winner of Gustafsson. If Gustafsson beats Shogun, I can see Gustafsson getting Jones. I know Machida's supposed to fight Hendo, and the winner of that could also get Jones as well. Vitor should probably stay at 205. It's good fights for him. Shogun, Rampage, Glover Teixeira, Phil Davis, Rashad if he wants to fight him.
When's the Hendo Machida fight happening?
It's just a rumored fight right now. It's not a definitive fight or anything. It's just something that I know Dana White mentioned it. It's like Machida's most likely fighting Henderson.
Okay. So, Hendo's not going to be fighting Jon Jones anytime soon?
What?
Well, until after that fight? Or?
Well, here's the thing. Like, the fight it's not definitive. So for all we know, maybe they change their mind and it's like, oh, okay, we'll do Jon Jones versus Dan Henderson next.
I'd like to see that fight.
So, I don't have an answer to your question because they haven't made any definitive decisions.
Sure.
That's the thing. Otherwise, yeah. The other thing that was really funny, and it happened with me and my friends that were watching it, but also the audience too, is that people were cheering for Vitor. It's just like there's something about him. I love the guy, and I can't actually explain why. there's something about the guy that is that just connects well with fans. The fans in Montreal are cheering for him, even though he's losing. And even in our house, he was getting beat up and whatnot. And it's just like you can't help but cheer for the guy. There's something about the guy that's really endearing to MMA fans. I can't really explain it though. Any thoughts on that or
on why people are rooting for Vitor? I just thought they were rooting for the underdog because I just thought that they wanted to see Jones, lose, kicked off his pedestal, knocked off his pedestal.
That could be it. That very well could be it too. So, yeah. Okay, next fight after that, Demetrius Johnson is now your new flyweight champion as he beat Joseph Benavidez by split decision. I personally did have. I picked Benavidez to win this fight, but Johnson ended up winning, and I think it was a good call. I thought Johnson won 3 rounds out of 5. Benavidez in particular looked really bad in the 5th round. Any thoughts about this fight?
First of all, these guys are tiny.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This is a pretty close fight. And it's pretty, high paced, and there's a lot of back and forth.
Oh yeah.
And it was difficult to even tell who won the fight after watching the 5 rounds. Before the decision came out. So I don't know. It was a good fight, close fight.
It was a close fight. Like in my personal scorecard, I gave it to Johnson 3 rounds. 3 rounds to 2 is actually what I should say. If they gave it to Benavidez, I wouldn't be too disappointed, but I do think that Demetrius got 3 rounds there. Especially the 5th, man. He was getting takedowns. Benavidez is really good at scrambling. I'm surprised how good he is at getting out of side mount. He'll give up his back, though, but he's so quick to get back to his feet that it's almost like not a problem for him. One thing I'm concerned about with Johnson is his finishing ability. Benavidez showed a lot more power in his punches. Demetrius doesn't really show, the strongest finishing ability. He is a guy that when he fights, it looks like the fight will go to a decision. He's a fun fighter to watch, but he's just a guy that doesn't seem to have the power or the submission ability to finish fights. The other thing here that was really annoying actually was just Rogan playing cheerleader for Demetrius Johnson throughout the whole fight. One thing that did you notice that, right?
I did.
Yeah. And one thing that hampers the fight is that he's playing cheerleader and not calling the action. It's like, oh man, Benavidez is actually hitting him in the face. Why are you talking about how great Johnson is, how fast he is, and how like young people can learn from him when there's so much action going on in the cage? It's like you're playing too much cheerleader for Johnson, especially during the times when Benavidez was getting the better of the offense. So that was really, really annoying. And it's something that Rogan tends to do. He tends to play cheerleader a lot of times. I like Rogan. I like Goldberg and Rogan, but like it's one of the things I noticed that he does, and it takes away from the fight. Like Shogun Machida #1. Oh, look at that leg kick, and it's like, dude, what about that counter that Machida threw? It's like, I'm not big on him when he plays cheerleader. I like him. I think he's a great commentator. It's just, it takes away from the fight. It shifts, the audience's mentality of who's actually winning and confuses them. Because all of a sudden you're seeing Benavidez punching Johnson in the face, and Rogan's hyping how great Demetrius Johnson is. So there's definitely some disconnect there. Next fight after that, Michael the Count Bisping beat the All-American Brian Stann by unanimous decision. You picked Stann to win this, huh?
Well, first of all, I hate Michael Bisping, and so a lot of it was personal. But I definitely thought Brian Stann had a very good chance of beating him. I mean,
in that first round when he wobbled him, were you just cheering like crazy?
I was pretty happy and giddy inside.
Yeah. You're probably spilling your drink all over people, man.
My shock top.
So, sort of the fight, though, especially in the second and third round, was Michael Bisping's wrestling. He was outworking Stann. It seemed like, especially in the first round, he was really hesitant to throw too much because it looks like he was afraid of the counter. As the fight wore on, he was throwing on more and started to outwork Stann, especially with his jab. But Bisping used his offensive wrestling really well. Managed to get the fight for the ground. Wasn't able to do much from top, though, a lot of times. Stann was controlling his posture. One thing that's really notable about this fight is that this is the first official top 10 guy that Michael Bisping's beat in middleweight. The problem is this performance didn't impress me enough to be like, wow, I'd love to see him fight Anderson Silva. If anything, this performance just showed me man, he'll get killed by Anderson Silva.
Who, Michael Bisping?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous fight.
Yeah, and because I know they've wanted to do Bisping Anderson Silva for a while. There's money there for sure.
Yeah, I want to see him get knocked out.
But yeah, I'd like to see Bisping maybe against a Chris Weidman next or something to that nature. With Demetrius Johnson, I think going back actually, because I forgot to say, he'll probably get John Dodson next. With Bisping, I'd like to see him get Weidman. Who else is in the top 10? The winner Belcher versus Okami would be another good fight as well. Jake Shields, another good fight. Brian Stann, some of those guys I mentioned actually would be good fights for him. Loser, Belcher, Okami. Jake Shields actually wouldn't be too bad. Munoz would be a good fight for Stann as well. Loser of
Who do you have in the Munoz-Bisping fight?
At this point, probably Bisping. Munoz's application of wrestling in MMA still isn't that great. He relies a lot on strength. He hits really hard. If he does get down, his ground and pound hurts a lot. Okay, next right after that, Matt Hamill beat Roger Hollett by unanimous decision. Kind of a snoozer. Sort of fight. Hamill getting takedowns, getting the ride position on Hollett a couple times. Stand-up was utter crap. Honestly, it was just not an aesthetically pleasing fight. Hollett doesn't look like, quite honestly, doesn't look like a UFC cover fighter. And Hamill just looked ho-hum, to be perfectly honest. Granted, Hamill will probably, he's been out for a year. That's probably how he should be fighting coming back. It's not like he should be trying all these new things or whatnot. You need to shake out the ring rust. So I understand it. Good win for Hamill. Comeback fight is kind of a gimme. This is kind of like a comeback fight for him and a comeback opponent for him, to be perfectly honest. I think he'd probably lose to Vladimir Matyushenko. Any thoughts on this fight?
I thought it played out the way I had anticipated.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a big Hamill fan, so I like his wrestling, and I thought he executed perfectly. So it's a good win for him.
Nice. Okay, next fight after that, Cub Swanson beat Charles Oliveira by knockout in the first round. I want to hear your thoughts on this fight.
You want to hear my thoughts on this?
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts.
I was pretty surprised at the outcome of this fight. I had Oliveira.
Me too.
Pretty confident about that, but unfortunately he got caught with one of Cub's big overhand. Was it overhand right?
Mm-hmm. Sure was.
Yeah, and I mean that's MMA, and that's it's unpredictable.
One thing that's really surprising here is, it's hard to shake off Cub Swanson because he's a guy who lost to James Pulver in WC. He's a guy who got double-kneed, KO'd by Jose Aldo. And he's always been like a perennial mid-tier featherweight, just like that gatekeeper guy. All of a sudden, it's like he loses to Lamas, by arm triangle. Then he knocks out George Root. Then he knocks out Ross Pearson. Now he knocks out Charles Oliveira. And they're all knockouts. And it's like, what is it? What happened to this guy? He used to be like a guy that was like a steady mid-tier guy. His technique isn't particularly great, He wings power punches a lot of times. It's not like he's super technical. But he's a gritty guy. Game fighter, really game. He's been in the game for a while. It really goes to show about prospects too. Charles Oliveira was a prospect. I was greatly looking forward to seeing his progress at 145. He's just a guy that had solid Muay Thai, good wrestling. He took down Swanson and good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's just a well-rounded fighter and still really young. And he just got knocked out bad in a silly way. He got overhand right, then he kind of backpedals, stands, and then he just crumbles, and it was just, and then he's just on his back, and it was almost comical the way he got knocked out, and it's like, wow, it's like Cub Swanson is just knocking good fighters out. George Roop is a solid fighter. Ross Pearson, I think, is a really good fighter. And I think Charles Oliveira is a really good fighter, and he's knocking these guys out. I gotta wonder if more fighters are just gonna try and wrestle Cub Swanson these days, to avoid his power in the stand-up. It's very strange to me. It's like, wow, where is this all of a sudden coming from? Because this isn't the same guy that was fighting in the WC per se. He was knocking guys out left and right. So good win for Swanson here. He's on to bigger things now. So as far as opponents go, Dustin Poirier, Korean Zombie. I think he should fight up there now. Eric Koch. Hector Diaz would be he's a prospect, but I think it'd be a very interesting fight. Who else? I think he should definitely fight more up there now. Charles Oliveira back to the drawing board. It's kind of sucks because he's coming off 2-fight winning streak, both wins by really good submissions, and this really brings him down. I don't know if he's gonna recover from. This is one of those type of knockouts and losses. I don't know if you really recover from, in the sense of people will look at this fight. It's like, oh, Charles Oliveira, man, he might get knocked out like he did against Cub Swanson. In his next fight. You know, people are gonna always refer to this fight as like.
I'm definitely not putting any more money on Oliveira.
This is okay. This is fine. Okay, actually, you know, I should have actually told you this. Okay, I should have told you this actually.
Yeah.
I have the worst
Predictions
when it comes, no. When it comes to 6 out of 12 isn't like the worst, you know.
No,
honestly, I mean it's not great.
That's par.
It's just par. Now I have really bad predictions when it comes to Cub Swanson. When he fought Mackin Summerser, I picked Summerser to win. Cub Swanson won.
Did he knock him out there too?
Nah, it went to decision.
Okay.
When he fought Ricardo Lamas, I picked Cub Swanson, and Ricardo Lamas beat him. And then I picked Roop to beat him. Then he got knocked out. I picked Pearson to beat Swanson. Pearson got knocked out, and I picked Oliveira to beat Swanson, and Swanson knocked him out. I don't know what's with this guy, but I just cannot pick a Cub Swanson fight for the life of me. It's one of those things. When I do pick him, he lost. You know, the one time I picked him, he lost, and the times I don't pick him, he wins. You know, it's like I can't pick a Cub Swanson fight. Let's go to the prelims. Vinny Magalhães showed off his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu prowess as he submitted Igor Prakarak by armbar in the second round. How did you like that transition from triangle choke to rolling armbar?
I thought it was well executed. It was fun to watch, and I thought it was a great submission.
Yeah. One thing that's gonna hurt Vinny Magalhães is his stand up, and his chin looks bad. Like this guy still looks like a guy that doesn't look like he likes to get hit at all. And he looks like a guy that really can't take a hit. The good thing is he managed to take the fight to the ground. His offensive takedown ability still needs some work. He has some good judo takedowns. I'm gonna be honest. I think he's a guy that should just start pulling guard on people to get guys to the ground, because he does get overhooks on a lot of guys standing and gets him against a cage. He's big for the weight class, and you know he submitted Igor from his back. You know, and in the first round, I mean he almost got the arm bar. You know, he transitioned from side mat, got the arm bar, and then you know, the second round, you know, Igor takes the fight to the ground, which was dumb because, you know, then Vinny goes for a triangle and then transitions to armbar, hooks the leg, rolls him over, and just breaks his arm, just cranks. And you see Prakarak grimacing. One thing this really shows is this idea of like win streaks in the UFC, because I saw it with Anthony Parash. It's like, oh wow, he's on a 3-fight win streak, and it's like you look at the level of competition. It's not like Cub Swanson, who actually has like really good wins. Like Igor is beating kind of like more the bottom of the barrel type of guys, you know, and beating them, you know. So it's like it kind of makes a guy seem a lot better than they are sometimes. But this was good from Magalhães. But as far as his future prospects in the division, I mean, he should probably fight a Ryan Jimmo next. That'd be kind of cool. Just some more mid tiers, you know, Kingsbury. Krzysztof Szynski's fighting. You know, maybe he should have an official match or something like that. They fought on Tough. Just some more mid tiers of the division. His stand-up's too much of a liability. Next fight after that was my pick for fight of the night, as TJ Grant beat Evan Dunham by unanimous decision. How did you? What do you think about this fight, man?
I thought it was a good stand-up. You know, confrontation between the two.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of exchanges, and you know, there was a lot of action.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Definitely rockin' sockin' robots. I mean, I remember like TJ Grant would like punch Evan Dunham or knee him square. Evan Dunham was bleeding bad throughout the whole fight. He just smiled and just punch him back. And they just go rockin' sockin' robots here. Evan Dunham, interesting. He would get a takedown at the end of every round. It was definitely looked like a part of the strategy to steal the round. I personally thought that it did steal a round. I thought he got 2 rounds. It was a close fight, so I'm not disappointed that TJ Grant won. He's definitely a really underrated fighter. Stand-up still needs some work. Defensively, both these guys don't have the best defensive stand-up. I mean, it's just not that great. But you know, he's just a gritty fighter. You know, really poor. You know, he's always a game fighter that's always in the fight. And he needs to step up in competition now that he's on a 3-fight win streak, and Evan Dunham's a really good win. Maybe the winner of Varner versus Melvin Gillard, the winner of Sass Wyman. That would be pretty cool because TJ Grant is actually, his strength is his grappling, and seeing him against Sass would be really cool, actually. Okay, next fight after that, Sean Pearson defeated Lance Benoit by unanimous decision. This was a good fight. It was a good enough fight. Pearson, the third fight really was just Pearson just outboxing Lance for the most part. Of course, there was that third round where Lance almost won. He drops him and it pours on some ground and pound. Otherwise, that's 2 fight losses in a row for Lance. Gotta wonder if he's gonna get cut or not. He's a fun fighter. Pearson's actually on a 2-fight win streak, but he's always kind of like that guy that's just kind of like there in the mid-tier, tough guy, you know, good guy, kind of a gatekeeper type, you know. Any thoughts on the fight?
You know, I actually missed this fight, but
okay.
You know, cool. It sounds like Pearson, you know, did just enough to eke out the win. So.
Yeah. So next round after that, we had 2 prospects in featherweight as Marcus Brimage beat Jim Hettis by unanimous decision. Man, Jim Hettis, just the guy had a lot of hype behind him, especially after beating Nam Fan. But man, did he look like an amateur here? Gosh, his stand-up is just terrible. Defense is bad. You know, his offense kind of looks silly. When he get hit, he kind of turn over in funny ways. I mean, it looks like he just started, you know, striking or something like that. Did you get to see this fight?
I didn't, but how was his ground game?
You know what? When he did take it to the ground, it was awesome. You know, he showed why he was, you know, a very highly touted prospect. You know, he got dominant positions on Brimage. I think he's a little too over-eager to get certain things on Brimage at times. It's like, instead of holding the back position, he'd like try and like go for an armbar or something like that. I don't know what he was going for. But then, you know, he'd get swapped or he'd give space for Brimage to get back to his feet. Brimage is a guy that I have picked every fight to lose, and he's won them all. His last 3 fights, you know, including this one, I picked him to lose, and he won them all. His takedown defense is actually pretty good, and his stand-up's solid as well. He hits hard. I just always pick against this guy, and it's like he's always winning. So maybe I should pick this guy from now on.
Maybe you should. Yeah. And then I'll make sure not to put money on him. I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
Okay. As far as guys he should fight next, I mean, there's more in the mid-tier and featherweight. He's on a good winning streak. I'd like to see him get the winner of Diego Nunes versus Dennis Sieber. Maybe Mike Thomas Brown. Nam Pham wouldn't be too bad. Pham versus Brimage would be cool, especially since Pham's coming out that win over Cole Miller. Steven Seiler is another guy that Brimage can fight as well. So there's a lot of good options for him. And I guess he's a prospect that's coming up that is just totally flying under the radar. Okay, Facebook prelims. All wins in the first round here. Seth Brzezinski beat Simeon Thorson by knockout in the first round. You know, Seth Brzezinski is now on a 4-fight win streak. He beat like Matt Brown. It's probably his best win in there. He beat Lance Benoit and now Simeon Thorson. The thing with Thorson is he's mainly a jiu-jitsu guy. But Bazinski's going to need to step up in competition. Maybe a guy like a Mike Pyle. Maybe a Paulo Tiago. Not too far up, but he definitely needs a step up from now on. Any thoughts?
No, it sounds like Seth, sounds like he's on it. He's got a lot of momentum behind him, and I wish the best for going forward.
Both these guys are huge for the weight class, too. That's another thing that's really interesting. Yeah, next right after that, 135, Mitch Gagnon beat YL Watson by rear naked choke in the first round. 1 minute 9 seconds in the first round.
Wow.
Yeah.
A minute 9 seconds.
Yeah, minute 9 seconds in the first round. I mean, dude, he just... the story of the fight was like... Watson goes for a Superman punch, misses, gets a counter left, gets dropped, rear naked choked. That's the fight. I can't really say much else about this fight. Well, Watson's coming off a couple losses now. I think a 3-fight losing streak. He might get cut. Gagnon, good win for him. He did well against Caraway, but ended up losing to him. I hope to see more from him in the future. Any thoughts?
No. Good win for Mitch, and it's always good to see a submission win. So, shows a lot of technical ability. So, yeah.
And finally, Kyle Noak had a successful welterweight debut as he beat Charlie Brenneman by TKO. So it's quite a contentious stoppage because what happened was that he did drop Brenneman and Brenneman got ground and pounded. However, Brenneman was going for a takedown, and Dan Maragalata stopped the fight in mid scramble. So it was a contentious stoppage. Brenneman's on 2-fight losing streak. His stand-up's really bad. His defense is just bad. He gets hit clean, pretty easy. That's the thing. Noak he landed a stiff jab, and then the right hand just hit him in the jaw and dropped him. Good one for Noak. He's big for the weight class. Good striking, good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Wrestling's not that great, though. So not much I can say. And that's pretty much it for the post-fight analysis for 152. Got any additional thoughts here?
First of all, my alma mater, Cal, played USC today, and we lost. So that was kind of disheartening. And then, I lost a little bit of money betting. So overall, not a good day for me. But looking forward to future UFC events. What's the next?
UFC on Fuel TV 5, Miocic versus Struve.
Stipe versus Steven.
Yeah. Yep.
Any other exciting cards coming up after that?
Strikeforce is actually that same night. I think there's a Bellator that Friday or maybe next Friday. I'm not too sure. Invicta's coming up. UFC 153 is not that far away. So yeah, there's a lot of cards coming up, man.
Okay, yeah, so, looking forward to more MMA, and, hopefully things will look better for myself and Cal.
Yeah.
Football.
One thing, I'll actually touch up on the betting thing, you have guys like, I thought Oliveira and Hettis were sure things, and all of a sudden it's and it goes down to getting caught up in these prospects, It's just, they look amazing in one fight. And it's funny because I remember doing this with Stephen Thompson. I was like, when he fought Matt Brown, I was like, okay, I'm not going to fall for the hype. And I picked Matt Brown, and Matt Brown won. And it turns out that Thompson's stand-up's really good, but his ground game and his wrestling suck. It's just not that good, And with Hettis, we saw his ground game and his judo game. We never saw a stand-up. So it's you have to think about this. It's what's the unknown with the fighters? What's the unknown about the opponent? Swanson's been knocking guys out his last 2 fights. Is he going to knock out Oliveira? I guess he is. That's what happened, It's you got to look out for that stuff. You can't get too caught up in hype, I guess, a lot of times. It's lesson learned, for sure.
That's that's what the whole excitement of competing is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how things are gonna play out, and so that's I mean that's why we watch it. If we obviously if we knew what the outcomes were going to be, it wouldn't be
exactly.
It wouldn't be so exciting. But
Yeah, so that's pretty much it for our UFC 152 post-fight analysis. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And yeah, that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.